All right, friends, the Sons of UCF are back here on a little Sons Today. To kick your week off special, I'm Adam, as always, and my good friend, my good buddy, Brian W. Peterson, kind enough to hop in again, as he will most post games this week or this season, assuming we can figure out how to actually get a schedule figured out. Brian, how are you, my friend? How's your weekend been?
I'm good. Weekend's good. Nice, relaxing weekend. I don't have to worry about UCF. I get to watch all the other games. The Big 12 went undefeated, so had a good weekend in that regard. So uh, I'm good. I'm good.
Brian is good. I am good. Hopefully, you out there are good as well. And so, Brian, is UCF good, though? I guess that's the main question that we still don't have an answer to right now. Before we look ahead, let's look back quickly. Again, you and I were at the 68-7 drubbing of North Carolina A&T. Not much competition. Obviously, the game got out of hand early. Knights up 4 touchdowns by the end of the first quarter. A lot of chatter all week long about what do you mean? What does this all mean? What do we take from a team that maybe wasn't very good? You've had a week now to digest, look at stats, give it some thoughts. As you kind of look back for the last time on that big victory, what's your main takeaway from how the Knights performed in their week 2 contest?
I mean, I think the big takeaway is we don't know, right? We don't know what this team is yet. They haven't, other than the first game against a Jacksonville State team that's turning out to be pretty good so far. They haven't faced much adversity and talent. This will be the first team that's coming to the bounce house that the Knights have seen this year that are really what we would consider to be an opponent of some magnitude. So, and we don't know much about North Carolina at this point either, right? They're kind of a big unknown as well. So I'm not sure what to expect from either team. I've been looking up the stats for how North Carolina played in their last game over the weekend against Richmond, again, an FCS team that we can't really take much away from. So it's tough to know what to expect from either team. But I'm excited to see them, get on the field and play it out.
All right. You perhaps are listening to this out there on Monday morning, Monday afternoon. Maybe Scott Frost will meet the media sometime on Monday, and we'll get a couple of updates on some stuff, Brian. I think the first thing before we kind of get any further on this, obviously, is, tough news last week. Offensive line coach Sean Clark, UCF releases, had a medical emergency. As we record this on Sunday, still no official update from UCF. Obviously, when you see a release like that, automatically your mind goes to the worst, right? What's happening and where are we? The reality is we don't know, Brian, and this is a family matter for the Clark family, right? This is a personal health issue. If UCF or the Clark family chooses to, I guess, disclose some stuff, certainly we'll learn then. But it's unlikely we'll have Sean Clark at least for a period of time here. So first off, just our thoughts and wishes to Sean Clark, his family, obviously the whole UCF community. Never news you want to read, Brian, when a press release comes out talking about a medical emergency.
Yeah, of course, we're thinking about Coach Clark and his family. Like you said, that news was very unexpected when it came across my feed. I didn't know what to make of it. And unfortunately, we haven't heard much as far as updates go. So we're hoping for the best in his situation. Like you said, we haven't heard anything, so I doubt he's going to be back with the team anytime soon. Of course, he is working with the offensive line, and the offensive line is one of those areas that we're not too sure of at this point in time. So it's a pretty big hit for the team in that regard. We were hoping to see some improvement of the O-line as the season progresses. So hopefully Scott Frost will give us an update on his condition, if he's doing anything as far as moving some coaches around, trying to get some support for the offensive line in there. While Coach Clark is in the hospital, as you said. So scary stuff, hoping for the best for him and his family, and hoping that Scott Frost gives us an update on Monday in his presser.
Yeah, and again, he doesn't have to. This isn't like an injury to a player, right? This is a private medical condition, so there may not be some news there. So just something for Knights fans to keep in mind. But again, thoughts and prayers and wishes to Sean Clark, his entire family, and hopefully he's on a road to recovery here in the very near future. Brian, something else we may learn at that press conference when Scott Frost walks to the podium is maybe Who will be the quarterback? So after 2 weeks and basically 4 quarters of Taven Jackson, 2 quarters of Cam Fancher, a quarter and a half of Ja'Cory Brown, and half a quarter of Dobby Vilfort, we still don't know potentially who the quarterback is. Post game, Andrew Cherico says, "Hey, coach, who are you going to go with?" He was like, "Hey, I don't know yet. It's not. I think he said, quote, it won't be an issue for me." I don't know what that means, Brian, but has Taven Jackson done enough in your mind to earn himself a start here, his second start in this third game of the season upcoming against North Carolina?
Yeah, I think you have to give Taven the start at this point. He's maybe not been the next coming of Mackenzie Milton thus far, but he has played well enough. He has filled in for when Cam went down and got hurt. And again, we don't know what to expect as far as Cam's injury is concerned as well, right? Scott Frost has told us in the past that he's had some back pain issues as a result of the big hit that he took in that first game of the season. So we're not really sure of his condition anyway. But going back to Taven, he came in relief of Cam, led the Knights on a comeback in that first game of the season, played well enough against North Carolina A&T last week. Didn't light the world on fire, but with greater competition comes greater opportunity, Adam, and hopefully he'll get fired up for the game. And if he does get the nod from Scott on Saturday to be our QB1, then hopefully he comes in ready to play. But I think he's earned the starting position at this point, unless something drastic happens during practice.
Yeah, I would think that's probably the case too, Brian. Obviously, he's played the most of any quarterback at this point. You've seen the offense under him. You could say maybe they got a bit of a groove to them now. I don't know what you can take again from playing a half against North Carolina A&T. So perhaps we're overinflating that. But you would think at this point he's earned the opportunity to stay out there. Now, is there a shorter leash? Are there packages of plays for other quarterbacks, i.e. a Ja'Cory Brown? I think that's an unknown. And will Scott Frost even tell us? I think that's the other thing we have to even imagine is what's he going to say when he gets to the podium on Monday or sometime in the afternoon. Brian, if you had to bet an amount of money that was important to you, do you think Scott Frost tells us who the quarterback is Monday at his press conference availability?
Listen, I'm an accountant. I don't do a lot of betting. I am risk averse. But if to answer your question, if I had to, I'm putting the house on this one. All right, he's not going to tell us who the quarterback is. He's going to say we're going to see how practice progresses. We're going to see how these guys do. It's no secret that Coach Frost has wanted to find ways to motivate these players, and perhaps that was specifically pointed in Taven's direction, but he wants to keep these guys motivated. He wants to keep them hungry and make sure that whoever he's planning to start on Saturday is well prepared and has a week of practice that they put in a lot of effort to. So I'm going to assume we're not going to know anything for sure. He's going to give us the same old coach speak that he has given us the past 2 weeks in a row, and we'll just assume it's going to be Taven moving forward. That said, I would expect that we're going to see a little bit more of the playbook this week. I would expect that as the competition level rises here with the Fighting Chapel Bills coming into town, or the North Carolina Jordans. I'm not sure who the coach is. It's one of those two. But with that level of competition increasing, perhaps we do see a little bit more of the playbook. Perhaps we get to see a little bit more of Ja'Cory coming in and running some plays as well. So maybe we'll see something a little spicier this week when it comes to the quarterback play.
Oh, well, so my accountant in years, Brian Peterson, says keep your money in your pockets this week. It's probably a wise bet, Brian.
Save it for a drink on Saturday.
You're talking about bye weeks here. I did some research on Scott Frost coming out of a bye week. Hey, the guy's had some really bad luck. So 2016, a loss for UCF out of the bye week. 2017, for those who remember, there really was no true bye week. There was the hurricane that canceled a bunch of games. So UCF was off for like 2 weeks early in the season. Then they come and they beat Maryland. So if you call that a bye week, fine, it's a bye week. So, one-on-one there. His first season in Nebraska, their first game got rained out, essentially. They never played their first game. So they didn't have a bye week that entire season for Nebraska, although he did lose game 1. 2019, he loses after the bye week. 2020 COVID year, the only bye week they had came because they had a game against Wisconsin canceled, and they lose that next game. 2021, he loses the game after the bye week. So Scott Frost, not great, A, with just luck having bye weeks, but B, Brian, coming out of a bye week, hasn't really historically been great. I don't know what you make of that, but you talk about he's had now, and this staff staff has had an extra, couple of days to prepare for this North Carolina team. They got to watch them probably live play at Richmond, or I guess it was at home against Richmond on Saturday. Maybe they took some notes, Brian. What to expect? What the heck should we expect from this football game? I think again, you and I are not smart enough to have any idea. But what are you hoping for that you see on Saturday for UCF as they take on the Fighting Belichicks?
I was talking with you earlier. I think it was last week, and I was telling you that it felt early in the season for this bye week to be happening, and we've only played 2 games thus far, and here we are in a bye week. I mean, if you want to consider the big picture of the fact that, Cam Fancher is hurt, we've got, Coach Clark in the hospital, medical emergency, maybe this is the best time for us to have had a bye week, let the players rest up and get well, and, coaches do whatever they need to do on the back end. And, maybe it's a good thing. So maybe that's the positive coming out of this week and having the bye week and letting the players get ready for, like I said, an uptick in opposition level. But I don't know that you can put that all of that on specifically Coach Frost himself. I mean, maybe it's the Gus Malzahn effect. I've got bye week blues. I mean, did we ever see Coach Malzahn win a game after a bye week? I know he was notorious for dropping games after the bye week. So I don't know if that's just a Scott Frost thing, as you alluded to with his issues, or if it's a Malzahn. Maybe it's just a UCF thing. We're just not good coming off the bye week period. So I don't know what to expect as far as of what we're going to get from the team coming off the bike, but hopefully at least they're rested up and ready to play an opponent again.
Well, you mentioned obviously this is the biggest game of the season so far for UCF. Obviously, it's their first Group of 4 opponent, or rather Power 4 opponent, after playing 2 kind of Group of 6 opponents and FCS teams in week 1 and week 2. I asked this on Around the Kingdom last week, Brian, and Elo and Trace about jumped through the screen and strangled me here. But is it fair to say that this is probably one of the, if not the biggest home non-conference games since that Boise/Stanford contest? I mean, I think that's the level of buildup for a non-conference opponent coming to UCF. I think it's been since that Boise game, which was really, I think, helped because it was the first game of the Malzahn era, and we were all excited because we had Gus, and little did we know how foolish we'd look in a few short years. But this is that level of excitement. Yes, this is Boise, Stanford. This is kind of the same concept for UCF with this North Carolina game, right?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that sentiment. Maybe not the best opponent on the field. When you think of North Carolina, you think of that 2019 Stanford team, maybe not the best win-loss record at the time, but certainly out of conference, these, the opponents that we see coming to the bounce house are usually not the Bill Belichick, ACC opponent that's coming into play. So I don't have a problem with saying that that's, one of the bigger opponents that we've seen, certainly coming to the bounce house to play the Knights on their home field since 2019. I'm curious to see what we get out of them and what they're going to dial up on their side. As you alluded to, these bye weeks, the Knights, as you said, in 2017 didn't really have a bye week. We were supposed to play North Carolina back in 2017. They were supposed to come to town when that hurricane struck. So this game feels like it's been building for years now. I mean, we were supposed to go to Chapel Hill in, I think it was 2018, and that game got canceled too. So this is a game that's been forthcoming for a while, and I'm excited to see them finally play it.
My quick math has Gus Malzahn going 1-4 post bye weeks. It's my quick math. Actually, I'm not even sure if that's accurate because it looks like there may not have been a bye one season, if I'm doing this math correctly. But so yeah, UCF historically not good off bye weeks, obviously, and that's a bit of a challenge. And here's the thing, Brian, none of us know what to expect out of this Bill Belichick coach team. Gio Lopez has been the quarterback for the first couple of weeks here. He's played okay, but they haven't scored a ton of points. Again, have they been conservative? Are they still learning their team as well? The defense looks I mean, TCU obviously put up a ton of points on them. They haven't played a ton of competition, Charlotte and Richmond, since then, and they've handled those matches, pretty well. So I have no idea what to expect of this North Carolina team. I don't think many people know what to expect from this UCF team, which is why, again, on Sunday the lines come out. Circus Sports has UCF as a 3-point favorite, which is typically the 3 points you get for being the home team. So if you kind of factor that out at this point, it's basically a pick 'em right now, I think, as people in Circus Sports. Now, you were telling me ESPN has UCF as a favorite to win this game?
83% according to their ESPN analytics statistics. I don't know how they come up with those numbers, but I mean, they're giving us an 83% chance to win the game if you believe their ESPN analytics.
That's interesting. I mean, again, I don't know how anybody really knows what to expect from this one. How like, I know we've talked a lot about Belichick being in the bounces. How much of a draw do you think Bill Belichick is? Like, how many people are going to show up there on Saturday because Bill Belichick's there, right? Like, what if I give you a pie chart of like, okay, people are coming to the game because A, it's a UCF game, B, because it's a Power 4 opponent, C, because it's the brain of North Carolina, and D, because it's Bill Belichick. Like, what portion of that do you think people are like, I can't believe Bill Belichick, 6-7-time Super Bowl winning head coach, is going to be sitting or standing in the bounce house?
Not very much. I don't know. Give me 2%, if that.
Okay.
Maybe some of the older heads like you and me, care to see Belichick. Hey, that'll be fine. Look, Belichick's on the sideline. Cool. But other than that, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it's the draw Dion was for Colorado in 2024. No. But again, it's to your point. It's also a series that has been on for a long time, but it's never actually happened, right? There's been so many times that games have been sort of postponed or moved around. So despite the fact that this series, or maybe I don't know if this is the original series. I think they re-upped the series. I'm not even sure which one this is.
I don't remember.
Point. Yeah, it's one of them. Who knows? But it's finally happening. It feels like we've been chasing North Carolina for a long time.
Yeah, like I said, I think we've had 2 games now, 2017 and 2018, the return game. So 2017 was supposed to be in Orlando. 2018 was supposed to be at Chapel Hill. And both of those games, due to weather, were canceled. I don't remember the specifics of why the 18 game was canceled. Was it the hurricane? Did the hurricane go to North Carolina that year?
Yeah, there was a storm flirting with Carolina, I think, at that point, and it was too close to call. I think it was one of those where it was like a Friday afternoon. I remember it was late in the week because we weren't sure if the game was playing or not. It was late in the week. I think they said finally, okay, we can't do that. It's too close for comfort. Obviously, the 2017 storm was that Michael. I forget which hurricane that was. That hit Orlando at that point. But obviously, those are the two that kind of impact that, right? So. I said, and we have a little behind the scenes here for everybody. Brian and I have a little group chat with a few different folks that we're always in. And I've said in that group chat, Brian, that this is an opportunity for UCF to really make a statement, right? This is an opportunity for UCF, obviously off of 2 fairly good wins, right? Although one in an easier fashion. Not a lot is known about this UCF team. Obviously, a lot of folks are writing UCF off. While North Carolina has not looked like a world beater, it's still a Power 4 program. It's an ACC program. It's a name. And yeah, they may end up being like dog crap this year. But right now, their eyeballs are going to watch this game because it's Bill Belichick. So I've said that I think this is a really golden opportunity for UCF to be on a big stage. This is going to be on Fox. 3:30 prime time. You're probably looking at RG3 in the booth, right? So you're looking at a lot of pomp and circumstance. This is a great opportunity for UCF to almost do what they did in that 2019 Stanford game, which was kind of announce themselves with authority on a major stage like that, albeit against a team that maybe isn't exactly a world beater. Am I crazy? And you can take that for a lot of different reasons, Brian, but I think this is a great opportunity for UCF to really go out there and make a name for themselves. Now, again, it's North Carolina. I don't know what to make of this, but am I wrong in thinking that this is an opportunity for UCF to maybe nudge some of the national folks like, oh, wait a minute. Hey, Scott Frost has kind of got some stuff moving down there in Orlando.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This is a 3:30 kick on Fox. So this is, a national game where we're going to get a lot of eyeballs watching the Knights take on the Tar Heels. There's some storyline behind this game too. Yes, you and I talked about how we don't really care about Bill Belichick, but a lot of people in the football world do. And they're really curious to see how this experiment in Chapel Hill is going to shake out with Bill Belichick coming to be the coach at the college level. Obviously, we know his success at the NFL level, but there's a lot of overlap there that lays in here too, as we know Coach Frost played in the NFL and actually played for Coach Bill Belichick at one point. Okay. So there is a little bit of a story here. If you want to look back at the fact that, that we've had a couple games canceled with this team already, and the fact that this is a Big 12 ACC matchup, you don't have to correct my math, Adam, but I think the Big 12 is winning that competition so far this season. I think that we have had more Big 12 wins over the ACC than the other way around so far this season. I think that's correct. I'd have to go pull up the schedule, but this is a big time opponent. We're going to see what both coaches can bring to the table and who can walk away with a win.
Well, this is so just again, not that it matters perhaps nationally, but I think it will a little bit because Fox obviously has a Big 12, Big 10 contract. They don't have the ACC. That's held by ESPN, ABC, right? And I guess the CW, as I learned this weekend.
The CW,
when I had to try to find what
Football
the hell
powerhouse.
the Cows are playing this way. So this is the Fox's only opportunity to have Bill Belichick on their airwaves, right?
Yeah.
By the way, employed by Fox are people like Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman, like big time players that played for Belichick. So this is their one chance to kind of showcase Belichick and have him on their airwaves. I'm curious if they're going to make a big pomp and circumstance out of this. Are they going to have Brady doing something? Are they going to have Brady go interview him? Like, is there going to be something that kind of highlights this game? And if that's the case, just like we saw, in week 1, you have a chance in front of a really big stage with a lot of people looking at Belichick to look at your team and go, hey, wow, look how good they are. Now, my caveat to that is you might remember, I hope you remember, who did UNC lose to in that opening week?
They lost to, let me check, TCU
Exactly.
of the Big 12.
But a lot of people probably are like, I don't even know who they play. They just know they lost and they lost bad, right? So that is the flip side of this, is that you become kind of an also-ran like TCU did. But again, I still think this is an opportunity from a blueprint standpoint for Scott Frost to sort of hit the gas pedal a little bit. If you win this game, Brian, you're halfway to bowl eligibility. Now you've got 9 conference games to sneak out 3 wins. There are some games that have really changed on this schedule since the season started. Some teams have been playing in a lot different way that I think we all thought they were, i.e. Kansas State, who's really been struggling out of the gate, Brian. So to me, this is a huge game for UCF. And obviously the next one's always the biggest one. But again, you're on a national stage. You have a chance to kind of remind some people, oh yeah, I forgot Scott Frost went to UCF, right? This is one of those where UCF wins this game, right? You can see somebody in the national media saying, hey, not so quietly, but UCF's 3-0 with Scott Frost back here in Orlando, right? You can start seeing that storyline. So I think there's a lot of stuff on the table here. And obviously, I don't know what to expect, though. But I do think this is a big game for UCF, for Scott Frost, for kind of the blueprint of 2.0.
Absolutely. This is you never take these national televised games for granted. Whether you're a player or a coach or a program like UCF that's trying to establish itself in this new conference that we've been in for a couple seasons now. And to your point, Adam, the competition is only going to get higher as the season goes on. So, we, like you said, we don't know much about North Carolina, but I would expect that the competition we're going to see once conference play starts is going to be elevated over what we're going to see on Saturday. I could be wrong, but this is going to be a step up from the competition we have seen the first 2 weeks of play for the Knights, and what's going to come further on down the road. And I, like you said, a lot of people care about Bill Belichick and this story as it unfolds, and how his first season goes. So this is a sneaky opportunity for the Knights to kind of show the world that, hey, we've got Scott Frost back here. We're fun again. We've got the offense. We've got the defense. And we're in the Big 12, by the way, which is a lot of fun to watch. So really curious to see how the game unfolds. Yeah.
Are we fun again?
I'm having fun. Are you not having fun?
I had a fun last week. No, I had fun 68-7. I did not have fun week 1 against Jacksonville State 17-10. Are we fun again though? Like,
I think
I'm not trying to be a jackass when I ask that, but like, I guess my next question was going to be, and maybe this is kind of a dovetail, is what do you know? Like, what do you feel really comfortable about this team right now going into Saturday? Like, what are you like, hey, you know what? I don't know a lot. There's a lot of things I still not quite sure about, but I know this. Like, what's the one thing you know about this team that you feel good about?
I mean, I trust our coaches more than I trust the prior regime that was here at UCF.
Well, that's
so
low bar, Brian.
Low bar. That's fair.
That's
fair. But right. So we talked about UCF's history coming off of bye weeks, and Coach Frost's history coming off of bye weeks, and I feel confident in this team to be competitive at the very least. I don't think that I've seen anything that scares me. Maybe other than the offensive line and the lack of establishing the run. I don't see anything that has given me complete pause to say, wow, this is going to be a total train wreck. I think that going into the game on Saturday, I expect us to be competitive, and I expect it to be a fun environment. I mean, that's the one thing that I think that Scott Frost has brought back to this program, is the fact that we can have fun again. It felt like when the prior coaches were here, we didn't really know what to expect, and things were always mopey. Fans were upset, towards the end, and now it's new, it's fun again. I'm ready to be there on Saturday, 3:30 kick. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Let's play a game of yes, no, maybe. All right, I'm going to give you an area of the team, and you tell me whether you're confident like how you feel about it. Yes, you're confident. No, you're not, or maybe. Right. So I think I'll start off with an easy one: defensive line.
Yes, confident.
Yes, right. I think we feel good about defensive line, right? I think we know hopefully we thought that was the strength of this team going in. It does not appear that we've seen anything that would tell us we're wrong there. Sincere Edwards had a great game 2 weeks ago. Nigel Kelly had a strip sack. Other guys like Rodney Laura, a name that I don't think any of us were thinking about, have had a couple of good games back to back. Okay, so we feel good about D-line. Defensive backs. Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Your confidence
level.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think I feel good about that too. I think Antoine Jackson's played really well. I think the Jadens, although Jaden Williams has been out with an injury, Braden Marshall has played well. Philip Dunham has played well. Jaden Bellamy has played well. I do think we've seen some play from defensive backs. Linebackers, yes, no, maybe.
Maybe.
I think that's the right answer too. Yeah, it's maybe or no. And I said this stat on another show recently. And with all due respect, I'm much bigger human being than I am. He could probably kick my ass whenever he wanted to just by looking at me. But Kelly Lawson, in that game against North Carolina A&T, 28 snaps, 0 stats, 0, like nothing.
Not a good look.
I asked Latavius Murray if he'd ever seen that before, and he was like, he couldn't dive on a pile and just get a half tackle. Like you could just find a pile to dive on just to grab a half a tackle or something.
They were keeping the ball away from him. They were scared of him.
Okay. And again, it's very possible, Brian, that he was just doing his job and the play wasn't near him. The D line was getting there before he was. Again, he didn't play a ton of snaps, so it's possible he was just doing his job, and that's how that shook out. But Lewis Carter did not play in the second game after the targeting penalty in the first game. We saw one interception by Jaden McDonald, but he only had a sack after that. Cole Kozlowski, fun fact, leading tackler on this Knights team right now with 11. He was running all over the place. So I don't know that we know, like, if we've got the right linebacking crew in there. I'm not, again, this is not a knock on Kelly Lawson or Lewis Carter. I think we still have some things to figure out. So I'm with you. I think it's maybe even a no. I guess I'm not willing to go.
I'm not going to give it a no.
Okay.
I'll say maybe.
Okay. Wide receivers. Yes, no, maybe.
That's definitely a maybe.
Yeah. Again, a maybe.
We've seen a lot of promise.
Have we though? Who's promise? Who's got you most excited? Like, where's the promise that you've seen?
I'm really excited to see how DJ Black continues to develop.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's so tough because in that second game, like the offense, Jay Nixon was basically running free every time the ball was anywhere near him. Yeah. Right. So it was tough to kind of gauge the receivers. I think you saw some miscommunication at times with some of the younger receivers and Taven Jackson. So it's hard. I think Dwayne Thomas, he had a really nice catch. I think he's going to be involved. I do think DJ Black, Marcus Burks seems to have had just a string of bad luck, either balls that are just outside of his reach, or I think he had a drop against North Carolina A&T. So I guess maybe's the answer there too. I wish I could say yes on that one, but I guess maybe is the right answer there.
He's not a receiver, but I'm going to say tight end Kylan Fox has shown potential as well, and hopefully Scott Frost. I feel like we've been saying this forever. Hopefully UCF finds a way to get the tight ends into the offensive passing game, but here, we'll see.
Well, I was gonna say, if you add in the tight ends to the receiver core, then it's trending a little bit better, right? Because Dylan Wade's had a touchdown. He had a wide open seam route that, for whatever reason, didn't connect on last Saturday. And you mentioned Kylan Fox, so receivers are there, right? Running backs, yes, no, maybe.
Maybe. That might be controversial.
Oh wow, hot take, Brian Peterson. Why the maybe?
I don't know that you can put it all on the running backs, but I think that if you asked anybody who's watched the games that we have played, as much as we love Miles Montgomery and expect him to be an electric player, statistics-wise, he hasn't been so far this season. And again, I don't know that that's on the running backs. Probably not fair to put on him. Obviously, Jaden Nixon had a great game last week. Tore it open several times, but I haven't seen what we would expect to see, a dominant running performance from the running backs consistently enough to say yes. I'm not going to say no, but I'm going to give him a maybe.
I think that's fair. I think, look, this is going to sound crazy, but like as much as I enjoyed Jaden Nixon's 4 carries for 156 yards and 30 something yard average, that's not going to happen all season long, right? Like, and so I love that happened in 2 really nice runs, but there's obviously going to be regression to the mean, I assume, as the season comes on. And you mentioned Miles Montgomery, man. I feel like I've been the only one saying this, and I feel like maybe people are trying to look at me like I'm crazy, but something just feels off with him in that running attack. And again, to your point, it may not just be him, but he's running as hard as he's ever run. But 20 carries, 80 yards against North Carolina or Jack State, 8 carries only against North Carolina A&T. Really didn't need him to there. And just something hasn't quite clicked there just yet. And maybe it's the O-line, but I do think we are due for a Miles Montgomery breakout game. I think we're due for one of those, 12 carry, 110 yard type game performances out of Miles Montgomery. And he's been sitting in the shadows for so long behind RJ Harvey. I think we're all it's almost one of those things we're all anticipating it's going to happen. And maybe I'm assuming or thought it was going to happen sooner than it has so far, but at some point he's too good a running back to get held down. But it's felt a little off in the first couple of games for Miles Montgomery.
And maybe it's just me, and I agree with you. I feel like every time Miles has gotten to the point where he's just about to break away, it seems like somebody gets a shoestring tackle on him at the last second and he goes down. Go back and watch the first 2 games, or watch the highlights, and you'll see it feels like he's just about to break through, and then right at the last minute somebody grabs him.
And to be fair, not to cut you off, to be fair, he's had 2 touchdowns called back for holdings, right? So
also
the times he has had like one of those, like, yes, it's finally the run, like it gets called back. It just seems like something just hasn't like clicked just as we want it to. So I don't disagree with you. It feels like he's on the verge, and something happens every time. If it's a hold, if it's a shoestring, if it's a trip, whatever.
And it doesn't seem like he's frustrated either. You saw pictures of him on the sideline celebrating with Jaden Nixon for when he had those several big plays. So I don't think he's like discouraged. I don't think he's upset about it. I think it's just been the timing and the luck so far for Miles. I'm expecting to him, that he's going to turn that around and he'll have a good game.
Quarterback. Yes, no, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know how you could be yes just off that. Yeah, I think off of week 1, the 2 quarters, well, essentially the 2 quarters we saw of Taven Jackson, one of those quarters, the 4th, were one where we went, okay, like we can work with this, right? I think serviceable in game 2, but I do think it's maybe. I think obviously the Cam Fancher 27 play experience, didn't yield a ton for UCF at that point. So I think we're in the maybe category there. And that my problem, I guess, is when you think about this game, right, and what's going to happen, like I feel good about our yeses, right? Our yeses are going to show up. Yep. But if our maybes turn to more of a no maybe than a yes maybe, then UCF is going to be in for a long day.
Don't put that voodoo on us.
And maybe even for a longer season. So I agree with you. Quarterback is a maybe. Last one for you. Offensive line. Yes, no, maybe.
No.
You're probably right.
Maybe that's controversial. Maybe that's maybe that's me being negative, but no.
It's so funny because you look at the stats and obviously everything in game 2 gets skewed, right? So you look at the rushing stats in game 2 and you're like, oh my God, 300 yards of running. This team is great, but something just hasn't felt right there. I know they've still been tinkering, with lineups and who's going to play. I know the guards have been kind of rotating out. Obviously, again, I hate to use this as a thing, but with Coach Clark probably away from the team for a period of time, right? Now a new voice coming in, I assume it's the same scheme, but obviously there will be a little bit of difference there. So I do think the O-line is probably the one that is it's a fair no, Brian, when you think about this team now and hopefully in the future. Now the good news is maybe they've had a chance to clean some stuff up. Maybe they've had a chance to kind of decide on the core 5 unit up front there. But right now I do think that's probably the one that's got you the most concerned.
Yeah, I don't have any other concern that's bigger than the offensive line at this point. Obviously, we knew coming into the season that we were going to have some fresh faces on the offensive line, which is always tough to adapt to. That offensive line takes time for those guys to gel together, to find their protections and make sure that they're doing what needs to be done to protect the quarterback and opening up running lanes for the running back. But I haven't been impressed thus far. I think if you had to point to the area of biggest concern, it's definitely the O-line.
All right, let's stay with the yes no thing for a second. Yes, no, maybe, and the trust thing. Alex Grinch, a name that a lot of us were kind of like, whoa, we hired Alex Grinch. And a lot of people in the national media were kind of like, this is an odd move. But you would probably say UCF's defense has been way ahead of the offense just in terms of productivity and sort of the way that they've played in the game so far. Do you trust Alex Grinch so far, Brian? Yes, no, maybe.
I got to give him a yes. I mean, maybe that's also controversial. Maybe most people would say maybe, and maybe I'm kind of on that line between yes and maybe, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt at this point so far. The defense has played well. Got us out of a pretty hairy situation in that first game against Jacksonville State. They were able to get a stop on fourth down and get us the ball back, which ultimately led to UCF driving down the field and getting that go-ahead touchdown to win the game. So I'm going to give him a yes. We'll see how he does against a power level opponent coming to town this week. Obviously, the competition is going to take a step up. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt at this point. I think the defense has played pretty well.
If we thought of this yes, no, maybe as like your gas gauge, like I'm right on the line between yes and maybe, but trending yes. Again, yeah, I think obviously the opponents in week 1 and week 2, maybe lead a certain way. Alex Grinch did say in one of his media availabilities that they were keeping the offense or the defense rather more base, right? They were just kind of doing more of their bread and butter stuff. So, they haven't done anything kind of exotic. Really hard to scout teams early in the season because you don't have a ton of tape on them at that point, right? So you're just kind of figuring out like, what do we do here? He'll have 3 games of North Carolina footage to go through and scout and kind of understand. So I think he's right in that line. He could easily jam the gas pedal and really vault his way into the yes category with a good performance or good plan out of this team on Saturday. But I'm on that line there. I would ask you Steve Cooper, but I like Steve Cooper. I don't think he's calling plays around here, Brian. So let me just say the offensive play callers. Let's call it Cooper and Frost. How much trust do you have in Cooper and Frost on the yes, no, maybe scale so far with what you've seen this season?
I'm also going to give the play calling at offensive play calling, whether it's Steve Cooper or Coach Frost. I'm going to give them a yes as well. And maybe that's just because I'm still defrosting from the Gus Malzahn era of play calling and jet sweeps on 3rd and long. And it's refreshing to see some of the plays that this offense has been able to dial up when they needed to move the chains or get a score so far. So maybe, like I said, maybe that's just going back to my mindset that this team is fun again. Maybe it's completely just the honeymoon phase still being a part of the team at this point with Scott Frost coming back. But I'm gonna give them a yes.
How much of the this team being fun again? And again, I'm not trying to pick on that statement specifically, but I'm just curious, kind of the mentality. How much of that is just because it's anybody but Gus, or how much of that is because it is Frost, because it is the guy that we saw in 2016, 2017, and like is the fun thing? Because I agree with you, by the way. Like, you and I were together on the game on Saturday. We had a blast. Like, we had a blast up there, hanging out, seeing everybody, like, high-fiving touchdowns. Like, it felt like old times again. It'd been a while, I think, since we felt that way. So I had a blast. It was fun. But are we just having fun just because it's anybody but Gus, or are we having fun because it's Scott Frost? Like, what do you think is causing the idea of fun here?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I know that our good friends Christian and Bailey on the Pegasus podcast have talked ad nauseum about how the fact that this coaching staff really needs to work out. We've got Coach Frost coming back. We've got McKenzie, our quarterback coach. So it's going to really, really be difficult if it doesn't work out. So I'm hoping for the best. I think that is driving a lot of the renewed energy in this program right now, is the fact that we do have some familiar faces. We've got something that's familiar to us. We haven't lost yet, knock on wood. That is coming eventually, of course, but interesting to see how things turn out. But I think it's fun right now because it's not what we had seen the last several years, and there's a new energy about the program. Now, that could just be Scott Frost coming back, right? He has a history of bringing a fun culture to the team. And maybe that rubs off on the fan base and why folks were so excited to see him back. But I think it's fun, at least for the time being.
All right. Assuming you and I are both going to be at the Carolina game on Saturday, right? So assuming that we have voices, we make it back, it's everything is okay. We're going to do this again probably next Sunday, right? What do you think we're going to be talking about next Sunday? So put your crystal ball in front of you. Again, if you want to give me a prediction of a score, you can, but I know that's just a crapshoot. But what do you think we're going to be talking about this same time a week from now?
I think we're going to see two teams with stronger defenses than they have offenses. Belichick's going to dial up a way to keep our offense from being as productive as we would like to see it. Give me a final score of Knights 27, Tar Heels 21.
Okay.
And if I'm looking for anything, I'm looking to see how, besides how the offensive line improves coming into this week, I want to see how Alex Grinch and his defense can go up against Gio Lopez and a quarterback that has struggled for North Carolina, has thrown more picks than touchdowns. So if I'm Alex Grinch, I'm kind of licking my chops to see what we can do with our pass rush and see if we can get some more picks from this quarterback, which has been a little shaky on the North Carolina side of the ball.
Yeah, I think a week from now we're talking about who the winner of this game played better across both offensive and defensive lines. I think that's the key for this game, particularly for UCF, right? Our defensive line is supposed to be a strength. So if UCF wins this game, I think you'll see that we had pressure on the defensive line. Maybe we got to Gio Lopez a little bit, forced him out of the pocket, forced him to speed up his process, throwing the ball open into the middle of the field, hopefully for interceptions for linebackers or defensive backs, right? I think so. The defensive line, I think if we've won, it'll be because that has played well. And offensive line, again, I think we have to be able to find running lanes for Miles Montgomery, but give the passing attack time to develop and time to get there, right? So I think, spoiler alert, this is going to be controversial. I think this game is going to be going up front, Brian. Whoever can kind of control the lines, and can UCF really do that now against a Power 4 opponent, I think will be interesting. Taven Jackson did make mention in his post-game presser that he's played against Steve Belichick, the defensive coordinator, his defense before. So Indiana played Washington, and that is a game that Taven Jackson played. Now, how much of that is he going to recall? How much of familiarity is there with that? Yeah. I have no idea, right? Freddie Kitchens, the play caller for North Carolina, came from the NFL. So does Scott Frost have anything there from his NFL ties that he can kind of go back to? Does he dial up his old buddy Sean McVay and go, hey, like what's going on with this guy?
What do you think in here? Yeah.
I don't know. I guess there's some options there, but I think if UCF wants to win this game, they're going to have to win the battle up front. They have to win the lines of scrimmage, and you can't turn the ball over. I think obviously that's going to be a huge one for this game. We're hoping we can force Gio Lopez to make some bad decisions and give us the ball away. UCF cannot do the same, right? So obviously things were a little clean the first couple of games for UCF, but this is not a game where Taven had a couple throws where you're like, ooh, that could have been problematic. He might not be able to get away with those here against this North Carolina team.
I've seen a lot of folks discussing the quarterback situation that UCF is in right now, and maybe it's just you and me, Adam. I think we might be in the minority. I think a lot of people are really sold on Taven Jackson as being the next QB1 for Scott Frost moving forward. I've seen a lot of hype from UCF fans around Taven being the guy, and I'm curious to see how he can play against a P4 opponent on Saturday. He's going to obviously have to rely on that offensive line to not get bullied by a North Carolina P4 level defensive line. So we're going to see what their pass rush looks like. If they're going to have to push him out of the pocket, is he going to make move with his legs? He's going to keep his eyes down the field and make some throws when he needs to. I think that this is as much going to be a showing for Taven Jackson. Again, assuming he gets the start, I think that this is going to be as much a challenge for him as it is the offensive line to make sure that they are productive on Saturday against the fighting Bill Belichick's.
Well, again, offensively too, let's something Belichick was lauded for in the NFL was his ability to watch your tape and take away the thing you did best.
Right.
Now, I don't know if he knows what that is for UCF. I don't know that I know what that is for UCF. So I don't know if he knows what that is, right? So it'll be interesting to see what it is that he says, hey, we have to take this away from this UCF team. If that's the running attack, if that's the middle of the field, I don't know. We'll find out. He's smarter than us. But, obviously knowing that going in, how does Scott Frost and the staff counter that, right? If they take away the running attack and say, Taven, throw the ball all damn day if you want to, right? How does UCF counter that? How do they react to that? Again, I think that'll be a big part of this game too. And I got a prediction. Here's an outside the box left field prediction. I think you're going to see Ja'Cory Brown in this game at some point in time. I think
was just going to say that.
I think he's too good an athlete for UCF not to find a way to get him onto the field and use him in either a quarterback run, some sort of a trick play, some sort of. I think Ja'Cory. I think they've been waiting to dust Ja'Cory Brown off and use him. I think this is a great opportunity to do that again. Big stage, national stage. Why not try something unique? Kind of rip a play out of nowhere. So I think maybe you see Ja'Cory Brown at some point.
If you're Frost and Cooper, you've definitely got some plays dialed up that you have ready for Ja'Cory, because he is such an electric athlete when he gets in these games, and we haven't seen him throw the ball very much this season. So I mean,
a lot of people aren't mad about that, bro. A lot of people aren't mad about that.
Hopefully his passing game has improved, right? He's been able to work with McKenzie as the quarterback coach and improve his passing game. And perhaps that is by design, that we have not seen him throw the ball very much, because he has improved and Scott Frost has got something special waiting. If I'm Bill Belichick, I think I'm going to make sure that, again, assuming that Taven is the quarterback to start the game, if I had to point to a struggle with him, I think it's the long ball, right? I think we saw him go like 1 of 9 on passes greater than, was it 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards in the game against North Carolina A&T. Not exactly a confidence booster for the fans watching the game. So if I'm Bill Belichick, I'm going to force him to throw the ball down the field and see if their defensive backs can get some picks, perhaps. And perhaps the remedy to that is to bring somebody like Ja'Cory Brown in, who can change things up, give you that running dual threat quarterback ability. I'm curious to see what Frost can dial up and how UNC counters it.
Either way, this is probably for us, Brian, at least in the UCF world, it's been a while, it feels like, since we've had like a fun, like, hey, I can't wait to figure out what happened. Yeah. Maybe since Colorado last year, when we thought maybe we had something and then the bottom fell out like in a hurry. Let's hope we don't repeat that again this year. But, it's been a while since, hey, okay, we've got this fun matchup where there's a lot on the table potentially here for UCF. And again, this could be a good springboard to what could be an interesting season, right? Obviously, if the Knights end up with a win here, again, you're halfway to bowl eligibility already with 9 conference games to play. Again, we've mentioned Kansas State hasn't looked fantastic. Cincinnati, they've been kind of up and down. Houston comes up with a win. I don't know if they're any good anymore. Oklahoma State got drilled against Oregon. Are they good, right? So suddenly some of these other games kind of look more winnable, maybe different at least than they did to start the season. So good opportunity for UCF to get off the board here. But again, we'll have it covered all week long. We'll have the presser on Monday. I know Trace will be out there. We'll do a bunch of stuff at the presser on Monday. We'll have Around the Kingdom this week. We'll have Suns Live again this week. Brian and I, again, if our voices hold up and it's been a good win and we're not over here lamenting another collapse for UCF, we may have one of these as well. Pegasus podcast, I think, will be out this week. I know Bailey's got some stuff with the Bucks this week, but I think we'll have an episode out at some point in time too. So the usual stuff here at the Sons of UCF. So keep it locked here. We'll have you covered as we lead into the Fighting Bill Belichick's. But everybody, enjoy the beginning of your week. Hopefully it's the start of a fun week for the Knights, and a win hopefully finishes up this week for everybody. So big thanks to Brian Peterson, as always, for joining me. I am Adam Eaton. We're going to sign off here. Everybody, go Knights.
Charge on.